and then we kind of reduced it a little bit.
The result is a drag factor of 0.09, about a third of that for the best production car, and a useful economy, even though aerodynamics don't matter so much at such low speeds. Not that the normal technique is to drive at a steady 15 mph.
You have to build your speed and then you cut your engine, and then like coast for quite a way, and then restart your engine to build the speed again.
This was Ripley Mill Hill School's second attempt with a new, more sophisticated car. It was funded through a proper business run by the pupils, so getting to Silverstone at all was an achievement, but it wasn't all deadly serious.
I certainly like the pupils to enjoy it, and I think that's the main thing, that's the key one for now, to do a project that you can involve a lot of pupils in school for pleasure. At the same time, it's obviously important to bring in the educational side. We've brought it in through running a business, and we've also brought it in through the engineering side and learning about the use of fuel and how valuable it is.
The result of their endeavours was a figure twice as good as last year's, at 420 miles a gallon. That's still only a tenth of the UK record, set by King's College London with this Heath Robinson device. Buried beneath a tangled mass of electronics, a tiny engine using a ringless piston. If it could be persuaded to run properly, hopes were high.
Tests have shown that we should be able to get the engine to run about 8,000 miles to the gallon. Now with rolling resistances, that'll probably drop down to about 7,000, but that would be the ideal condition. So if we should be able to get about 6,000 in an ideal case.
In the end, the rubber band broke, or some such fault, and no score was registered. These are temperamental machines to be treated gently, so it's not surprising that breakdowns were common. For a while, it looked as though Downs End School wouldn't manage to complete a run, as the clutch disintegrated. After winning the junior section last year, they were aiming for 1,000 mpg, with a revised version of their beautifully engineered device.
Simon? Success is two things for us. Success, for me, is partly winning, or even doing well, but it's partly about turning 12 small boys into junior engineers, teaching them as many things as possible about using tools, using materials, constructing mechanisms, making them work, the discipline of driving carefully to a schedule on the track, all those things. I think they've learnt a lot. And that works out just over 1,000 to the gallon, which is what we're aiming for this year.
There was no restriction on who could help build the car, but driving it called for special qualities: smoothness, consistency, and an absence of bulk. The last time I hit a problem like this was when, age 7, I outgrew my pedal car. Most of the designers around here are taking advantage of the fact that the minimum age for driving in this competition is 11, and so they're designing their cars fairly small. So it's not surprising that I, 6'3" tall, can't actually fit into them. Mind you, I'm not sure that if I could, I'd actually want to take them out into urban traffic. I never really did fancy a Sinclair C5. These vehicles may not be designed for traffic. After all, how often is a car in danger of being squashed by a motorcycle rather than vice versa? For the last 3 years, the top prize has gone to the group of Honda employees called Team 1200. Alone along the pit lane, they discouraged prying eyes. Not that you could visually detect the advances in combustion technology that team manager Yukihiro Ogura reckoned were the secret of their success.
燃焼効率を追求してやるからだと思うんです。燃焼効率
6,142 miles per gallon was 4% short of their world record, set with a 6-stroke engine. But it was good enough for them to win again. Next up were the 2 entries from the French Lycée La Joliverie in San Sebastian, not quite breaking 5,000 mpg. For their compatriots, Epsilon from Strasbourg, all was confusion. A restart took precious drops to get over the finishing line, with just 8 seconds to spare before the 38-minute deadline. The best school turned out to be Downs End again, shy of their 1,000 mpg target at 892, but a well-deserved result for all the team. Maybe there are engineers in the making here to challenge the Japanese. Meanwhile, the English win on eccentricity. Well, believe it or not, I've actually found one I can fit in. Not only that, but it's street legal as well. And the designer, Harold Marfleet, claims it can do 450 mpg. And on that, I'll be able to get to Aberdeen on just 1 gallon.
Does this number plate ring any bells? It should.
Believe it or not, this is the actual car that Michael Caine drove in the film The Italian Job.
In the film, it may have looked like the mafia crushed the car, but that was only a mock-up.
The real car survived, and after years of obscurity, it's been rebuilt and we've tracked it down. But its whereabouts and ownership must remain a secret.
In Austria, oilseed rape is being used to provide an environmentally friendly motor fuel.
The seeds are pressed, and after processing, the oil can be used as a direct substitute for diesel in cars and trucks.
So-called biodiesel costs about the same as ordinary diesel at the pumps, thanks to favourable tax rates.
Emissions of carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides and sulphur are all drastically reduced when compared with conventional diesel.
One supermarket chain runs its trucks on it. The only problem with the idea is the smell of cooking fat that comes from the exhaust.
Hot hatches have always sent shivers down the spine of the insurance market, but these 80s success symbols now look to be the bargain of '92, as long as you can afford the insurance. The used car trade says that the recently announced new insurance groupings are hitting hot hatch values hard.
F-plate 16-valve Astras are changing hands in the trade for as little as £4,400. Just a while ago, they were in the £6,000 territory.
It's the same with the Peugeot 205 GTI 1.9, which is also down in value. Dealers are reporting they're losing sales due to unpalatable insurance premiums. So if you're after a bargain pocket rocket, now's the time to buy. Just check those premiums first.
I like steam engines and thought it might be a nice idea to make a Top Gear item about them. But producers know best, and mine said no. I thought I got away with it one weekend last summer when we stumbled upon this little lot at the Red Rose Steam Museum near Manchester. Obviously something was going on in this Lancashire field on Saturday afternoon, with commercial vehicles of all shapes and sizes appearing. In fact, they were there to prepare for their annual raid on Yorkshire, otherwise known as the Historic Commercial Vehicle Society's Transpennine Run. Among those present were the Tennant family from Lanark.
You've had a long drive down here, Gillian.
Yes, we have. We left last night at 12:15 and we arrived at 8:30 this morning.
You drove through the night from Scotland?
Yes, quite a that way, less traffic for us to hold up.
The vehicle was built in 1955. It was used 11 years in general haulage, then a showman had it before I bought it about 1986. The original engine was an AEC, of what size I don't know, but it has now a Gardner engine at 112 horsepower. And with the trailer, that vehicle could gross legally 32 tons with only 112 horsepower.
That's quite low, that power, isn't it?
It's very low against present day standards, because for 32 ton now they wouldn't be thinking of anything less than 300 horsepower.
Ah, comment ça va?
Bonjour. I'm not French.
Oh, you're not?
No.
What are you doing in this then?
Well, we found this in France in April this year, and drove it back and totally restored it here in Manchester. The chap was still using this as his regular everyday transport when I found this in April. And it's just so different, it's just so unusual.
And what do all these other competitors think of having a foreign vehicle among them?
I don't know yet. I just don't know. It's. I just hope it's going to make it to Harrogate.
Well, it's
made it from Finisterre, so there's no reason at all why it shouldn't make it to Harrogate.
Right. Ah, the Bedford, once upon a time Britain's most popular truck. Did you restore this, Bill?
Yes, I bought it in scrap condition in '82, and it took me while 1986 to do it. Upside at bungalow. That's where I live, like, you know, in drive, beside the bungalow. And then in 1988, I managed to drop on the original Scammell coupling and trailer up in Middlesbrough.
And it's a Bedford Scammell. Well, that's fairly unique, isn't it?
Well, yes, because Bedford used to supply chassis and cab to Scammell's. And Scammell's used to fit the scuppling on to take their trailer. That's how you come to have Bedford Scammell badge on. And you got two guarantees then. One from Bedford's and one from Scammell's.
And I see you're in the Bedford Drivers Club. Does that still exist?
No, that don't exist now. That was when you could get a room for 1 and 6.
Oh, I see. So all drivers of Bedford lorries